We followed the trials and tribulations of the Sussexes very closely here on the Royal Report. Whether it was dishing the dirt on the royals in public or the drama at Centre Ballet, the faux royal tours or the on-again, off-again documentary series and podcasts, we've covered it all. But there was always one connection which survived that turbulence, and that was Harry's relationship with the York sisters, and in particular Princess Eugenie. Then this happened.
The reports are that he is lonelier than ever in Montecito. He has no friends. He has zero relationship with his family. We just read that he cut off Eugenie, Princess Eugenie. And so what is he going to do with all this unstructured time?
Hang on, that was, I'm glad you mentioned that.
On how many ways his life has gone wrong.
Well, that was because of me, actually, the Eugenie thing, because she was having lunch with me and a group of people in a pub in London, and I was seen hugging them goodbye, and Harry saw this and went completely ballistic. I can confirm breaking news, that is entirely true.
Joining me now is writer and broadcaster Esther Kraku. Esther, is there more than immediately meets the eye?
Well, yes, that little tidbit from Piers is actually quite accurate. But it's important to remember this happened in sort of the winter of 2023. So I'm not sure to what extent, one, Harry's held a grudge, and to what extent the relationship has remained frosty up until this point. We know that the couple, the Sussexes, bought a place in Portugal, which was meant to serve as sort of the European base if they ever wanted to dish in and out of Europe and then have a little bit of alone time. They've kind of joined this flurry of celebrities that are buying up properties in really key locations in Portugal because of the tax incentives. And we know that one of the big draws for that was the fact that Eugenie and her family had a place out there. But it wouldn't surprise me in the least if Harry did lose his mind, that Eugenie didn't stab Piers Morgan in the eyes with forks upon seeing him, just to avenge her cousin, which kind of just shows really how immature he's become. It's incredible. He's kind of reversed in maturity, and how fragile actually a lot of his relationships with his family are, because you can imagine if someone like Eugenie, who's been quite an ally to him, she was, if not the only royal to actually go out to Montecito to visit the family. We know that she's had a warmer relationship with Meghan than basically the rest of the family, and certainly Will and Kate, that this is quite indicative of Harry's state of mind and really where he is with his family. And what Maureen mentioned in that video, which is pretty spot on, is it's really hard to imagine how truly happy he is. He doesn't really have the same base that he has. I mean, I know Montecito is beautiful, but when you don't have friends and family around you, it can feel quite empty. If all your company is basically your mother-in-law, your wife, who's busy doing sort of her boss babe life, and your two children who are, can barely speak, really. They're not adults you can converse with. It can be a pretty lonely existence. And this was someone who was a prince. He was in the army. He was used to that camaraderie and having really a sense of direction at all times and knowing exactly what to do. And he's kind of had to juxtapose that previous life onto what he has now. And it can't help but feel quite empty. And I'm sure this certainly doesn't help that.
And going on from that, the observation has been made by others this week that Harry's obsession with being a spare is starting to affect those other relationships. Given recent events, do you think there's anything in this?
Absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things that has clearly plagued him his entire life, this really weird status of being the spare until Will settled down and had children, which of course he did, and him trying to find himself and him feeling the need, almost the rush to have a family of his own and a center of gravity and a sense of purpose. And you can tell that from his book Spare, where he basically just sounded like a belligerent child. And so it's become quite awkward, because now you can see that he sees everything through that lens. His how he grieved he was about his family when King Charles said, he can't really afford him and Meghan, how he felt like they weren't really kind of put in the spotlight or treated the way that they should have been. It's this psychological inferiority complex where he's always felt like he's being treated as a backup. And now that he's kind of split from that and come center stage in his own way and effectively cut off many people in the process, you can see how that still plagues him day to day. I mean, this is someone who's had quite an abnormal reaction to a lot of things. And I think it stems from his own inferiority complex. And I'm not saying that the royal family or being in that institution is perfect. Of course, it comes with its own antiquated norms, an interesting way of doing things. And the average person certainly couldn't understand it. And the average person could actually sympathize with someone wanting to get out of that fishbowl. But clearly his issues run deeper than just how his perceived slights or how he perceived he was mistreated alongside his wife.
Hey, Royal Sussex Squad, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're diving deep into a story that's been making waves, and once again, it's all about Harry and Meghan. If you've been following closely, you know that while the Sussexes have faced their fair share of public scrutiny and drama, there's one thing that has remained constant: their bond as a family. And today, we're here to address some outrageous claims that have been circulating, particularly one involving Harry and his relationship with Princess Eugenie. We've seen it all, from the tabloid leaks to the unfounded rumors, and now we're here to clear things up and set the record straight. Let's dive in. Recently, a rumor surfaced claiming that Harry has cut off his cousin, Princess Eugenie. Yes, you heard that right. The tabloids have been all over this, saying that Harry is isolated in Montecito with no friends, no family, and no one to lean on. They've even gone as far as to imply that Harry has severed his connection with Eugenie, who has historically been one of the few royal family members to show support for Meghan and Harry. It's just wild, isn't it? Now let's take a step back. We all know that the Sussexes have faced a lot of challenges over the years, from the media's constant intrusion to the drama within the royal family. But let's not forget that Harry has always been someone who values his relationships, especially with family members who've shown him kindness. Princess Eugenie has been one of those rare allies who've been there for Harry and Meghan, and yet the press would have you believe that everything's falling apart. There's absolutely no truth to these rumors. Harry and Eugenie's bond has weathered far more than these baseless claims. What these tabloids fail to acknowledge is the real nature of Harry's relationship with his family, a relationship that has been under intense scrutiny for years. It's easy for the press to sensationalize everything, but we know the truth. Harry is not the isolated, friendless man they want you to believe he is. We've seen time and time again that Harry and Meghan have created their own support system, one that is built on love, trust, and mutual respect. Sure, the media will try to twist the narrative, but let's call it what it is. Harry is thriving in his own way. He's not alone. He has Meghan by his side, his children, and a network of friends who love him for who he truly is. And let's talk about Princess Eugenie for a moment. Eugenie has been an unwavering supporter of Harry and Meghan, even visiting them in Montecito when others wouldn't. She's shown time and time again that she values family over all the noise the media likes to stir up. So this idea that Harry has cut her off, absolutely preposterous. It's just another attempt to tear down the Sussexes and create drama where there's none. The media's portrayal of Harry as a lonely, isolated figure is not only disrespectful, but downright false. These stories fail to acknowledge the fact that Harry is a man who has spent most of his life in the public eye, navigating an extremely difficult and often toxic environment. And now, as he carves out a new life for himself, he's focusing on what truly matters: his family, his mental health, and his future. The narrative that he's falling apart is simply an invention of the tabloids looking for a new angle to attack. Let's not forget, Harry and Meghan are not just sitting idly by. They're active, they're building businesses, supporting important causes, and raising their children with love and compassion. They've chosen to leave behind the toxic royal family dynamics to create a healthier, more fulfilling life. And while the press will continue to spin their own narrative, we know better. The Sussexes are not failures. They are succeeding in ways that matter most, as a family, as individuals, and as global changemakers. So, to all those spreading false stories and trying to tear down the Sussexes, it's time to face facts. Harry and Meghan are doing just fine, and their family bond is stronger than ever. We stand with them, and will continue to support them as they move forward. If you enjoyed today's video and want to keep up with the latest news and updates about the Sussexes, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you want to show your support for the channel, consider donating via Super Thanks. Every little bit helps us continue bringing you the content you love. Stay tuned for more, and as always, thank you for being part of the Royal Sussex squad. Keep shining, and never let the negativity get you down. See you next time.